Have you ever made a promise and hoped that you didn't have to keep it? You don't have to answer that out loud, or maybe you can type it in the comments. No, don't do that either. We've all made some type of a promise in the heat of a moment when something is happening and we promise to do something, and sometimes no sooner than it comes out of our mouth, we kind of go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I promised that, or what was I thinking? There's no way I could ever do that. Sometimes our emotions can get the best of us, and we promise something that later we either don't want to do or just maybe realize honestly that we really can't do even. But in those situations, maybe you feel like you can't say no to someone or something's going on and time gets away from you. I can think of times where maybe, I've committed to make some type of food, bake something for some situation that was coming up, and the week got busy, and next thing you know, I'm the one up at midnight the night before trying to get it done, right? Because I made a promise, I said I'd do it, there are people depending on me, and I got to get this done. I want to be a person of my word. Well, I want to look at a passage today in our reading this week, and in order to look at the passage we're going to settle on, I want to backtrack for just a second and go back to 1 Samuel 24 and read this passage first. So this was from a previous week's reading for those who are following us chronologically. 1 Samuel 24, it's 17 through 21, and this is King Saul speaking to David, and he said to David, "You are more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me with good, whereas I have rewarded you with evil, and you have shown this day how you have dealt well with me. For when the Lord delivered me into your hand, you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him away safely? Therefore may the Lord reward you with good for what you have done to me this day. And now I know indeed that you shall surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. Therefore swear now to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants after me, and that you will not destroy my name from my father's house." So David swore to Saul that he would do this. This passage was Saul speaking to David after David had just had the opportunity to take King Saul's life. It was a pretty powerful moment. He had this opportunity, and he was speaking to David when he had this chance to kill him, but David didn't do it. And Saul asked this favor of King David, or would-be King David. He was just David at the time. But he asked this favor: do not cut off my descendants. Don't let my house end with me when you become the king. And David, of course, answered and swore to him that he would do just that. So now our reading for today is this. I want to skip over to 2 Samuel chapter 9, and I want to read these first 7 verses in chapter 9. In this passage, pointing out to that David is now the king. And it says this: "Now David said, 'Is there still anyone who is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?' And there was a servant in the house of Saul whose name was Ziba. So when they had called him to David, the king said to him, 'Are you Ziba?' And he said, 'At your service.' Then the king said, 'Is there not still someone of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God?' And Ziba said to the king, 'There is still a son of Jonathan who is lame in his feet.' So the king said to him, 'Where is he?' And Ziba said to the king, 'Indeed, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lodabar.' Then King David sent and brought him out of the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, from Lodabar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, had come to David, he fell on his face and prostrated himself. And then David said, 'Mephibosheth.' And he answered, 'Here is your servant.' So David said to him, 'Do not fear, for I will surely show you kindness for Jonathan your father's sake, and will restore to you all the land of Saul your grandfather, and you shall eat bread at my table continually.'" A couple verses later in this same passage it says, "As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table like one of the king's sons." Wow, what a beautiful passage. And as I read this passage, I thought to myself, a couple of things popped up. First of all, this passage is when David is honoring the vow he made to Saul in the previous passage that we read, Saul said, "Please, when you become king and I'm dead and gone, don't let my name in the house of Saul fall away and fade away. Please honor any of my descendants." Fast forward now, David is king, and what is this that he's doing in this passage? He's doing the very thing that he promised he would do, that he made a vow that he would do. But here's the things I noticed. First of all, David didn't wait for Mephibosheth to come to him. He didn't wait to be reminded of this vow. He didn't wait to keep the vow. Well, maybe no one else heard me make the vow, so if no one else knows the vow exists, is it there? Kind of like the tree falling in the forest. If it falls and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Maybe no one knows. And so David didn't wait for this to be discovered, for someone to point it out and remind him that he needed to do it. I mean, that's kind of what we do sometimes, right? We make a promise, but we kind of secretly go, "Oh, I'm just going to stand over here and wait and see if no one's going to pay attention if I'm doing it or not." That is sometimes what we do. Well, secondly, David actually not only didn't wait for Mephibosheth to come to him, he went out and sought how he could keep the promise. What can I do to keep the promise? He made the effort to go ask, is there anyone here that I need to honor? I told Saul I would. Is there anyone here that I need to honor? He wanted to be sure to fulfill the promise. David would later go on to write in Psalm 15, he said, "Lord, who may abide in your tabernacle and who may dwell in your holy hill?" And he goes through a list of people that will do that. One of those in that list is he who swears to his own hurt and does not change. This speaks to someone who keeps a promise even if it costs them something. Sometimes we have to keep promises that we've made that cost us something. Now, I'm not talking about when we truly can't go through with something we committed to. Then I think we can go to people and explain our situation and say, "I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that." Absolutely. But there are times when we know we're just not keeping the promise because we're just backing out on our promise. Can I say this? May we represent Christ in such a way that when we make a promise with someone, they're able to rest easy and say, "Oh no, that person that made that commitment to me was a Christian, a lover of Jesus, and I'm not worried. I know they're going to come through and they're going to be true to their word." Let us keep our promises. Let us ask the Lord today to help us to be people of our word and even go one step further. And Lord, help us seek out those people that we can pour out the love of Christ into their hearts and lives.